And it is Saturday morning, December 2nd, 2017, 11:05 a.m. And it's an absolutely gorgeous day here in Brooksville, Florida, which for some reason my Wi-Fi doesn't work out front of my house. I have to work that out because I shouldn't be indoors on a day like today. And this is the Bring Your Own Identity cooperation between our chain, Big Life, Hollow Chain, Divvy Dow. And we really have a good archive of videos in this series. We've had some great meetings in the past. BYOID project itself has somewhat lack leadership, so hopefully we're remedying that situation, and well, we can talk about that later. Good morning, Kit. Update? You can always give your frustrations and excitements, or tell us what the weather is, whatever.
I'm going to.
I can't hear Kit.
No. Go ahead, Gary. I finally found my microphone button.
Yeah, I'm going to post an invitation on Holochain now because someone just posted an interesting question. I'm going to invite them to this meeting.
All right.
Okay. I just posted an invitation to the meeting in Telegram.
Ah, awesome. Yeah, we have a Dig Live channel now on Telegram too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I guess I should post it there, huh? I created one and I linked it to Mattermost. I bridged it to Mattermost.
Okay. That's good to hear. Yeah, I actually want to investigate Holochain more, but I haven't had the time recently.
Yeah, well, I think we can run contracts, row line contracts on it. So.
That would be nice.
Yeah, well, being able to control mobile asynchronous communicating processes is always nice. Algorithmically constrained process orchestration. So
who's the linker for Holochain? You again?
Myself, Gary, Joachim is sort of Dig Life, really. But Dig Life is, is part of our collaboration.
Right.
I haven't gotten the identity folks in Dig Life involved here much. Mainly because Adrian Grouper is the guide for the circle, who's really interested only in the aspect of promoting his HIE of 1 self-sovereign identity, which is really cool, and we should be using it We did have one work study where we actually did run it, but we haven't embraced it. And, there's just too many things that have been priority, whatever. I'm hoping, we have the links. They don't have to be here. This is BYOID Central. And we all take it back to our communities.
Yes. Identity, everybody is starting to recognize the critical and urgent need for identity solutions. I think it seems like everyone is agreeing that that's where we need to go. Oh, I just wanted to point everyone to the discussion in the Dig Life Hive Mind channel, which is one of my favorite channels. We're talking over there about cobbling together a personal assistant bot, sort of mentor bot, that we deploy in a distributed fashion. And Kid, if you haven't seen any of that, I thought you might be interested in some of that discussion.
Yes, I would be.
Have you looked into Qbot, Gary?
I have not.
Yeah, well, we could do a work study with Ubot, and we can set up a basic, basic bot.
Okay, Ubot is a open source.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a Slack type bot.
Yeah.
Well, now we've also got the MetaMaps bot that
yes.
Well,
yes, and that has a server and a bot as well. But if you want to, and it's a priority for us to get that to work.
Yes.
And whether that same architecture will serve for other bots is to be determined.
Right.
But the U-bot is sort of makes it standard. And it's definitely something we want to try at some point. U-bot.
I'll look it up. That's YOUBot or
U-bot. No, YUBOT.
Okay, YU.
I think.
Yeah.
Where is U-bot? I can't believe I lose these links. So, yeah, we were just talking about our bot ecosystem and trying to find the link for UBot. Oops.
No, it's YOUBot, Jim, I think, not YU.
No, I think this one is UBot.io.
Okay, well, that's
HUBO.
not.
I'll put it in the chat. All right. So.
Oh, H. I'm sorry. I don't hear very well.
I guess I should have given you the link to the site directly. But that's the code.
So is this the bot that you guys connected to the Telegram channel?
No, that's MatterBridge. MatterBridge is a great tool for connecting anything to anything.
Oh yeah, Jim, and someone complained that we ought to turn that bot off. I think we just need to make it more entertaining.
Which bot is that? Oh, the Discord bridge or what?
The welcome bot on Telegram.
Oh, the welcome bot on Telegram. That's a Telegram bot. That is kind of noisy. I think that's yours, isn't it, Kip? The welcome bot.
Yeah, well, it is somewhat annoying for people who've been there a while, but we want to keep it. So
why don't Kit? Could we add stuff to it so that when it popped up there, people didn't find it so irritating, but it still conveyed the same valuable information to the newcomers?
yeah, well, that's the problem. We want to tell the newcomers that there are rules and that there's lots of resources available. And there's no way to do that without it showing up in the channel. There is another way to set up the bot so that you can send them personal messages, but in terms of what shows up in the channel, it's even more annoying because it takes up more vertical space.
Yeah, they don't have the equivalent of the ephemeral message.
No, there's no ephemeral message. That would be great, actually, because if that message lasted, a minute or 5 or something, and then disappeared,
yeah,
in fact, that's probably a feature suggestion, because those bot messages are really only interesting for one person at a time.
Yeah, the ephemeral messages on Mattermost, just appear for you and nobody else.
Yeah, that's quite well done, actually.
And then you can just X them if you want to get rid of them.
Yeah. But the group Butler bot, it's definitely handy, and when things get a little crazy later, we'll be glad we have it. So we want to keep it.
All right. What topics do we want to cover today? I have some listed in the agenda that I came up with. Anything to add to that? Let me share my screen. And I guess this is just a raw list of of things that have been come to the front this week, and that's the common element that we need. We need to have identity for any application we use. We all need the identity, and in order to have the identity, we need to have a the distributed identity directory. We have a standard for distributed identities, and we plan to have all people and every persona or every every identity you have in every context, in every server or service, is a persona that has a DID, or decentralized identifier, as well as other all social objects have DIDs, distributed identities. And so this table of identities is a priority for us to cooperate on. And that's become a priority.
So is it like kind of a distributed identity chain?
Yeah, it's DNS. The DNS of DIDs, distributed name service of DIDs. And one of the options is to use DNS. There's a number of problems using DNS and questions about it. We probably should use DNS, but where we're coming from now is Firebase for the social ledger. And that's where the DIDs will be kept. And to some extent, we shouldn't care where they're kept. We should be able to do a service discovery to determine how to use a decentralized directory or a distributed directory. So we can, we want, in essence, a standard for a DID on Firebase, but it's pretty straightforward. To do it. I mean, the interface is defined, so it's pretty much, I have to look into how detailed it is. But, so we're making it a decentralized DNS is what we're building. And many will argue that the existing DNS is already decentralized, and to a large extent that's true. But it's not as open as we would want it to be. It's not free. Okay, so any reaction to that or comments?
It makes me.
Go ahead, Kit.
It makes me think of the PGP directory servers for registering your PGP key.
Yeah. We certainly should look at what directories are used for PHP keys.
And the other comment I have, which is something I could probably find out if I dug into that spec. I did pull it up on my screen, but is there an overlap with the Ethereum name service?
Absolutely.
That's something we should look at. And I realize that the Ethereum name service is Ethereum only, so that's also a limiting factor. But it could be that there's commonalities. And yes, and that was the next thing I was going to say. Uport is moving ahead.
Right. Yes, definitely, because they're part of the ecosystem of DIDs, and they have to be included. I mean, there's no reason we can't use Ethereum for social object data. It may be convenient for us to, in essence, cache social objects on Ethereum for convenience in Ethereum applications, whatever.
Yeah. Hi, John. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. And Jim, Gary, hello, Kit. I don't mean to be gender assumptive.
Does your camera work, John?
It does. I've been a bit run down and I'm in bed. I'll wave you, but I'm...
Yeah, you're very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. John, I did you have a question for Jim? I noticed in the Holochain channel that you were asking about.
Well, yeah, I've been watching different efforts to produce structured metadata that includes data constructs, the sort of column headings, but also other descriptions of data that might be useful to different audiences, and meta mapping, metadata cataloging. It's all sort of interest, and yeah, so it's a sort of open question.
Yes. Yeah, this is what we're doing here is what we call the open identity meeting, and this all relates. I mean, this relates to nearly all the projects we're working on right now, because many of them are kind of at the stage where we need this identity solution. But one of the focal points of at least Jim and myself is to integrate the meta mapper with the social ledger project. And Jim and Joachim of the Digital Life Collective have sort of developed and coded and implemented this social ledger thing. And I'm kind of a hobbyist, but I've come along and sort of discovered, something that's really amazing with it. And that's our goal, to bring this meta level analysis of the community to the ecosystem.
Great.
So we're generally focused on identity. But I'm glad you joined, John.
Please continue with flow. I don't want to interrupt it. Please do feel free to continue where you were. I'll just let it for a bit.
We love these serendipitous cross-fertilization between circles, between the teams. That's what helps us maintain a collective intelligence.
Yeah.
But speaking of metadata, okay, in the social ledger, the social object identity is its metadata and history. And it's, of course, very important to identity that we, the social ledger becomes your identity. It becomes your reputation. It becomes, what you expose of it. And privacy is and control of your information is utmost important. And the identity is required for us to be private. Say what factors it takes for someone to act as you and see your stuff on the internet. Should be under your control.
Seems reasonable.
So I'm glad to have you on the team, John. You're going to help us get our metadata onto Holochain, huh?
I think that we'll all need to keep talking about how metadata APIs, the sort of UI and UX for this stuff works. There is no single perfect taxonomy, but a move towards smart taxonomies and indexes is happening. Yeah.
Well, we haven't yet defined the metadata structure, and I guess maybe you can help us there. But essentially, we're defining a DSL, or domain-specific language, that begins with the /dig commands themselves.
Mm-hmm. And, interesting.
And the ability to give permission for someone to borrow your permissions, so to speak. So for each context, each social object has a perspective on the metadata, which is sort of holographic in nature. That's why Holochain is a good choice. Or maybe a good choice. We're still experimenting. So
great.
I'm happy to have you aboard. I really hope we can cooperate.
Yeah, and John, I guess we could have introduced ourselves a little bit. I'm a member of the Archain Collective first, or the Archain Cooperative, I should say, and that was my main interest that brought me here. And Greg Meredith and that team of brilliant mathematicians and computer scientists and social theorists and all kinds of folks over there. But I really don't have too much to contribute to their team. And so I'm also a member of the Digital Life Collective. And here I'm trying to find ways to help with the social ledger deployment. So that's kind of what brings me here. What are you first a Holochain devotee, or what brings you to the space?
Sure. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. What sort of depth?
We're thrilled that you had enough interest to join.
Yes.
And
cool. Okay. So I'll aim. I'll aim for a minute or something. I have an MSc in community education and have learned about different sort of theoretical models for how community can function, creativity and critical thinking, compassion, two types of meta, META, and METTA, the Buddhist universe. I find inspiring. I've worked on data modeling and visualization tools for more than 6 years. That's looking to automate a process for people to create robust data models and visualize them with as much representational correspondence as possible. So I've been looking at semiotic analysis and how things can be presented. so we've now got some software. You could see it if you want as visual.tools. I haven't been thinking about that much recently, but that has taken a lot of my life energy over the last while. Yeah. I do some consultancy, a health partnership that includes a heterogeneous set of organisations, all of which receive public funding, but then the universities are part of it as well. And they complicate it because they run a bit more like private sector beasts. I've been fascinated by the open source ecology for a while. I've done a lot of mapping with NewMap. I've run collaborative work events. I'm running a holochain hackathon next week in Bristol. We're supporting the running of that. I've been watching the distributed computing space for a while. And it seems that holochain has got legs, to use a sort of inappropriately simple metaphor.
Love it.
And in work in health, that I've been exploring how both inter and intra-organizational information sharing can be supported through the collation and curation of information asset registers or metadata catalogs.
Sweet.
Oh, well, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Can we facilitate a channel where you are a guide or scribe with the social ledger?
The guy, yes. So sure. I've been inspired by this thing I heard a while ago of minimum possible structure to allow for maximum authorship. And it's a sort of design principle that really struck me. And I've tried to apply it to different modalities and making things. And to speak crudely, the current social ledger is sort of over structuralized or something in a way that doesn't easily fit with people that don't resonate with that typology of. I mean, it's fucking awesome. It's sophisticated. You've done really well. To have tagging rather than fixed categorization, sort of allocation, that's great. To self-allocate or potentials. So this is blah blah blah.
I mean, you know,
this.
The prototype is necessarily limited. It's, you know,
Sure, exactly.
Concept.
So it's
not a product.
Yeah, and I think it's a worthwhile and great effort that you've made. So it's this idea of smart taxonomies, indexing, having like this IPFS interplanetary stuff, which data store. It seems to be, or whatever. There's IPFS, and then just today I've been speaking with a guy who was involved with Planet and cooperatives thing, and so I've been thinking about this idea of planets and interplanetary, and the guy who developed NewMap has got a set of awesome visualizations that look like planets, sort of really good use of 3D and
Yes.
4D.
I may have seen that, yes.
And the idea that a social body, collective or individual sort of task, how it might get visualized, and the semiotics of it in space, and then also the use of how people engage in nuance. But it seems quite exciting how many people there are around. Sure, sorry, I'm going to stop.
You're breaking up quite a bit, John. Can you hold for just 1 second? Jim, can you hear me? Or
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm not on mute here. I hope I wasn't contributing to the problem.
No, John, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's fine. So I was just having meandering walk around some of the.
Yeah, awesome introduction, John. Thank you, thank you.
Fine.
Let me.
I watched quite a lot of the video that you shared on the holochain tube, and thank you for that. It's a gift to be opening these conversations up.
I'm not sure which video you're talking about, but
there was about a week ago, maybe, which was an introduction to the social ledger. That's how I found out about it.
Yeah, and but I don't agree with what I said yesterday. We have a potential collaboration here that I don't know how to manage, so to speak, and you're sort of in the middle of it, or you're making it more complex than it is already, which is a collaboration between Dig Life, the Collaborative Technology Alliance, which one of their big things is the metadata interchange and such, coming out of Hilo, which is the Inspiral and all those people, and also coming out of that is the Open App ecosystem. Okay, and they have channels on the social ledger trial, which are not being facilitated currently. The organizations are mostly just in Lumio right now. And the Digital Life Collective, we're all we all want to interchange data. We all want to do these visualizations. Okay, and we're not working together very effectively. And my hope is that, by participating in the social ledger, will enable that cooperation so that we'll have less redundancy and work towards a common solution, so to speak, or common solutions that interoperate. I wanted to run that by you. I mean, I think that's an area of great need. Where it might be worth your while to commit some effort to help bring life into these collaborations as a independent being. But sure, any channel you want to guide or scribe on any topic, we would like to facilitate, and just see if it flies or dies. Something on data interchange would be most immediate value, and I don't fully understand what the topic we're proposing, but I think it definitely sounds like you should do it, and I definitely want to understand that. I would gladly be a participant in the channel where we work on your stuff there. So let's see. We do have an agenda. Any comments before we move on? Gary, Kit, John?
No, I've been looking at some of these. I was trying to remember correctly John's quote about minimum possible structure to allow maximum authorship. And you can see how I tried to misremember it there. So, John, that's a good indication of my memory skills.
I put the log document in the chat again. I didn't capture much of this in the notes. If anybody can wants to contribute there, that would be great. I can't talk or listen and do notes at the same time. Kit, John, anything? All right. So before you came, John, we were considering the alternatives for the distributed identifier directory, which is the DNS of the Internet of Things and Ethereum identities and ourselves and our social objects. And this is sort of the prerequisite to going on. And so we're considering what kind of directory to use. Currently, we're in Firebase, and I won't repeat all of this. We're looking at moving to Holochain. And there's a bunch of available tools out there that we could use that we should investigate further.
Could I ask at this point, could you tell me some places where we need an identity solution right now?
Yeah, and that's and this, I guess that should be a separate item on the agenda. The OAuth aggregation. First, Mattermost. So that,
why do you call that OAuth aggregation?
Well, because we have OAuth identities on Facebook, on Google, and in every different Mattermost server we're on, we have a different persona. Each of these persona get a decentralized identity. And we aggregate them so that when you're logged in as yourself, you're authenticated into all of them.
So is this related to the single sign-on?
Yes. It's related to the same single sign-on, but it's an opposite way. Instead of having one sign-on that works in two places, you have one sign-on that works in both places because it knows your credentials. It supplies your credentials, in essence, to access that because you're already logged in. Okay, so we'll be keeping, you may have to type a command. Now in the holochain, in the MetaMaps integration, you have to log in, so to speak, to connect the bot to your identity on MetaMaps. And we'll be doing that first.
Joachim has said that we need the OAuth solution soon for the social ledger.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. And right now, you know, the identity is kept in the URL, and you know, which gives anybody the ability to act as you on anything. You know, if they construct the URL to do it. So obviously, obviously you need identity. Now in the trial,
in the trial, the what we're all about is openness. So
yeah, but from an identity point of view, the privacy is the most important thing. And that's, you know, what we're talking about now is, and the reason we need that privacy is because this is public, accessible, and it has to, and you need identity so that when you enter a domain, it knows who you are in that domain, because the social ledger bridges these domains.
Well, I have no doubt that we need identity in the social ledger.
Yeah, and one of the main complaints is people have to type a /dig command in order to use the social ledger. And the reason for that is that well, it provides a context for the activity, but it doesn't know who you are if you came into the dashboard with a fixed link. Since it doesn't know who you are, you can't commit. You know, you can't commit to an activity because it doesn't know who you are. In order for you to just, you know, that's the basic need for identity, so that you can have links in all your tools to social ledger functions like increasing or decreasing your commitment to an activity. It has to know who you are, and you know the right way to do that is secure, so that you're protecting people's privacy. They only expose what they want to expose, and that's part of the UMA functionality of the DIG ID, which will support user-managed authorizations. The UMA functionality.
So, Jim, let me ask you this. This just occurred to me. If I see in the social ledger bot channel any activity by myself that I know I didn't do, what I can assume is someone has just entered a link into a browser with the same identity that I had, or the same information that was contained in my URL when I clicked on it.
I'm not sure what you're asking. You know, let's say you committed to an activity and you did a copy of the URL, you pasted it into a chat, and somebody else clicked on it. Okay, what it would do is it would redo the command, whatever it was that you did, as yourself.
But now, can that same user reproduce my identity in new URL constructions?
Yeah, I mean, they can do anything. They can make any URL, they can make any changes to the URL that they want to do to get you to commit to something you don't want to commit to, whatever.
Well, indeed, I have seen this happen. I have seen, my username commit or create things that I'm almost positive I didn't do, Jim.
Well,
but the fact of the matter is, I didn't bother you or Joachim about it because I figured I figured you already knew the solution to this and knew why it was happening, and it would be just a distraction to you.
Yeah. Well, no, there's a sudo operation in the social ledger, which allows me to claim effort on your behalf. Okay, we want to be able to restrict that capability. Right now, it's unrestricted because we're dealing in a trust community. We're controlled by norms, not software. But in the social ledger log, okay, it tells who did. It says that I did it on your behalf, and I think that I have probably done one or two of those.
Well, yes, and I've recognized some of those and thought, oh, I that was probably Jim, and I can kind of see why he did that. I don't mind.
Yeah, well, this is it. In order to use the social ledger effectively, we have to take action, and it should be transparent. Working aloud what action we do, and I don't know if that was.
Yeah, well, this guy,
it's like Travis, what's his name from Consider It, says, a lot of times he'll set something just to get a reaction from the people. Okay, not because he thinks it's correct, but you just choose a value and set it, and you see what people have to say about it. And,
right.
That's the way we develop consent, is by considering possibilities or alternatives, whatever.
Well, now that's taking actions, in using my identity to take actions.
Yeah, that's that's something that you have to have a norm about in the team. It's not something that
well, that's taking actions is a large universe. I'm thinking more now about privacy.
Yeah.
They can take my identity and see the screens that I can see.
Yeah, well, the idea is you give them the ability to do a specific command. Okay, and essentially you can put a parameter that they fill in. Okay, and they can, and that limits what they can do. The command gives the scope of what you're giving them permission to do. We're changing it around so that I don't take permission to execute a command on your behalf. You give me permission to take action on your behalf. Okay, that's what we're doing. That's what we're changing. About right now, it's completely permissive. It's only controlled by norms. There's no software control on what you do, which makes it flexible. You can experiment with different norms.
Yeah, and I've moved into this environment so smoothly that I forget. I forget a lot of the assumptions I'm making now when it comes to this identity problem.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, OAuth works just about everywhere. And
And to do this OAuth problem, we need PHP programmers for the social ledger.
well, yeah, I mean, any programmer can program in PHP.
Because it's just a scripting language mostly.
Well,
Or is that,
what are they doing? They're making OAuth calls. You just have to know how to make a subroutine call.
yeah, these are cut and paste, huh?
They're copy and paste, yeah, primarily.
But you have to understand the problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's a C-like language. It's sort of a cross between Perl and C.
Perl I like, C not so much.
But, you know, I mean, Java, you know, is, you know, C-like. It's
And we have to ask ourselves, all week we've been saying that the MetaMaps, social ledger, holochain integration was the highest priority, but is OAuth a solution for social ledger actually higher?
could be. What was the you know, the OAuth aggregation, the social ledger.
You want me to look at that?
Yeah,
Before we look at, I mean, we've got to meet with the new maps people on Monday. Oh, and John, are you going to be at that meeting on Monday?
I haven't been invited to it.
That could be arranged because please join us at our invitation, because this is a co-meeting between
S7.
S7 and Social Ledger, Dig Life, whatever you want to call it, DiviDAO.
Yeah, it's social ledger. It's about the social ledger. Yeah.
And
I guess the cooperation between, you know, with Holochain or Dig Life, whatever.
And do you know Robert?
Which Robert?
Best.
Okay.
Yeah, in reputation, but no, not personally. But I do know the S7 people.
Okay, and so you know Adam?
I do. Yeah.
Great. Then I will encourage Adam to make this a public meeting on Monday. I don't think he will have any problem with that, but in either case, I'll let you know what the outcome is.
And for the current sort of decided license, I mean, there's this challenge of having shared licensing framework in the mix. There's lots of other questions that people are addressing, but I know that NewMap is not currently or imminently planned for open sourcing.
Yeah.
But they are sort of, that doesn't mean that they're trying to hoard stuff, but it's sort of more like a copy far left ideal. Do you have, can you signpost me to any meta maps that you think it's worth me looking at in relation to your work about the social ledger or sort of project overviews? I noticed there are a few example maps. I've found the licensing one somewhat useful, and I wonder if there are other shared reference points that we could clarify.
I,
Um,
I'm not sure what exactly what the issue is. No, we certainly are focused on open source solutions, but we use a lot of commercial products. We even use Firebase from Google and Google Documents. You know, we're sleeping with the enemy. You know, we use what works, we use what's good. And when it comes to visualizations, you know, we have users who want Kumu, and we like what they produce. And
but if I could,
providing a valuable service for a reasonable price, we should be using it rather than working with, you know, losing an opportunity to do something great.
but I want to say that I don't see any problem including the social ledger with closed products.
Yeah, sure. That's okay. I mean, I'm personally interested in supporting the development of a sort of tech commons.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah. I think, have you seen Excel Node? Node Excel? That's what it is, isn't it?
Node Excel? You put the, give us a URL.
I will, yeah.
The agenda on the log.
Sure.
And we need to put those.
I mean, my question that, Jen, sorry, from before was if there are any maps about the social ledger that you've got as a sort of common reference point, because as these smart taxonomies develop, having sort of node and clustered arrangements around nodes is potentially quite useful.
Yeah, I mean, there's numerous people in Dig Life, I guess, much closer to mapping than I am.
Have you mapped the informational items in the social ledger as it currently stands?
No, we haven't. I haven't.
Uh,
That would be a very interesting, useful thing to see.
I would like to see. I'll be honest. You're losing me a little bit here, but I would like to see this map that you're thinking of, John.
Yeah, well, we can do that with the Slack integration.
Yeah.
So that's becomes a priority again, setting up the Slack integration to MetaMaps.
Well, I mean, yeah, there could well be, but it also could just be someone who did it themselves, like this.
Yeah, well, in Dig Life we try to work together so that we learn from each other.
Yeah, that's of course.
Can you share the screen, John, that you're talking about? Jim, you have the screen locked?
Oops. Yeah, I do.
This is Node Excel. Well, I don't want to repeat myself or sort of waste your time. You might not see a value in it, Jim, but I think to have either types of activity, like you said, role or scribe, there it's about having this sort of organic hierarchies increasingly visible. And I wonder if just to sort of present something that's laid out so people can see the different kinds of informational items in the social ledger that are being collected, not so much the people.
So you're talking about getting a snapshot of the organization from the social ledger and displaying it this way?
Less the organization and more the actual informational items that are being collected. the overview, the data construct is a data construct map.
Right.
And
Well, we have the okay, in the basic quick start, the basic start slide deck that is on the social ledger page there. Joachim goes over the the structures of the objects that we have in terms of teams with members, and the roles
and the roles. So is that then the sort of activity, the ontology of activities?
Now, the activities associated with the team or channel are actually independent of the members of the team. I mean, anybody can be part of an activity, whether they're on the team or not. We have activities associated with channels, which we have a bunch of categories that we set up. It doesn't, what you call them doesn't really matter at this point. They can be links, or they can be actions, or they can be norms, or they can be documents, or contracts. You can join an activity, and that's about it now, and make a commitment, but that becomes part of the holonic structure of the organization, where you have the activities, and maybe the link, what object they link to, and then you have people who have joined it or made a commitment, the activities are within teams or channels, which are within domains, which are within organizations, or in the trial, it's many organizations and domains within those organizations.
Thanks. Having a map that does include some of those things that you just mentioned as nodes, teams, channels, domains, organizations, actions. I mean, guide and scribe is quite a clear, differentiated set of activities that I imagine people would like to propose additional things, commitment,
Absolutely.
norms, documents, contracts.
And
it sounds like it.
And we allow people to have multiple roles, so and they can be very fine-grained in terms of what their role is in a channel. The activities they're involved with, in essence, define their role.
Yeah.
But from a sociocratic point of view, we let me share my screen again. Okay, this is the Bring Your Own ID project. That's ourselves here. And /dig team, we can see that this team has 2 guides and a bunch of actors. And that's an actor is from a governance point of view, all the other roles are actors. And links. I'm sorry. We have people who represent another team and or are a representative of another, or represent this team to another team in the sociocratic polyarchy that's created by these structures. And right now we don't have the data where you're connected to. Metadata is, for social objects, it hasn't been implemented yet. I mean, it's not hard to put JSON associated with it. And that can be, you know, according to a JSON a schema, or you could just add fields and values with a very simple interface. And that will be part of the dashboard. I don't know if you've seen the dashboard. Have you seen this? You've seen the social ledger, right? The movies, whatever. Okay, and this shows me all the tiles in context here and which ones I've selected. Now this shows my part of the commitment of this activity. And we have actions. What do we have? We have the channel. We can go into the channel where the discussion is. If I can find it. Oh, it's a green one. Okay, so this takes us right into Mattermost. If we click on that, or it takes us to a document or wherever the link goes. And you know, here we have we can archive the activity. We can change our commitment level. We can delete the activity. We'll be able to edit the metadata associated with the object, which will include things like me giving you permission to execute some command on my behalf or something like that in the identity perspective. But right now, in order to get here, we have to know who you are. Okay, otherwise we don't know who's making a commitment. And if we add an activity here, you know, this is the, you know, to have an alternative to /dig commands, we have to have that identity component, which is a top priority. What are the other priorities, Gary? The Slack, the MetaMap Slack bot, and what was the other one? Can't even think. Are you there, Gary? Looks like Gary left. And we have another visitor. Welcome.
Yeah, I still see Gary, and our visitor is a developer based in Beijing that I know from the Telegram channel. His name is Mao.
Hi, Mao. Welcome.
Oh, he prefers to chat. So there's a hi in the chat.
Let me put the log address in there again for him. Um, so welcome. So we were just looking at the social ledger, and I can't remember what the question was. We're looking at the roles here, and you know, sociocracy doesn't like to define the roles because they're defined in the group, and like I said, the activities you're in define that, or should. If we look at the activities here, oh, and let's just look at the social graph to show how this shows your connections to other people in the collective according to these membership in these circles, in case you're unfamiliar with that. But this is, you know, part of what we want to visualize in various ways. Right now, the visualization is...
Hey, Jim?
Yes?
You're not sharing.
What? Okay, so I click
Let's do that again.
I click on the eyeballs here, and I can see, oh, let me click on myself here. Okay, and you know, by virtue of being a member of the circle, of the team, we end up with a network of people that are connected directly and indirectly. And this is a fun visualization. I mean, you get to see isolated nodes, you get to see clusters, you get to see the strength of connections between people. But obviously we would like to be able to visualize this in other ways and, you know, get other data. The activities here, I'll show everything, and not just the actions. So we can see the attend BYOID workstation settings is in here, and I can see that I'm pretty committed to that. I'm more than half committed to that. I mean, that's a big commitment. I guess that's because I have to be here because it's my Zoom room. So if I look at that, you know, in the holonic structure of the organization, hello, there's an issue with this zooming. Let me.
I think it's related to a code update requires you to reload your buffers or clear your buffers in the browser.
Could be. Let's see if this works. That's interesting. So I go into my settings, and I go into advanced, and I go into clear browsing data, and I clear cached images and files. Okay. And then I shift reload this page. Oh, interesting. I don't know what's wrong. But
I've seen this before, Jim. Go in through the palette.
Right, but I want to see who's committed to the activity.
Oh,
And we don't, Palette doesn't show that currently. I mean, it's a work in progress. It's not finished.
Yeah, probably you have to force a JavaScript update or something.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I can zoom into it in the diagram, but let me just try something else here.
oh, do a members and then do a googly eyes.
I did a members.
Oh, you did?
I'll just pick something else here, see what happens. Could be the problem with that activity, or it's probably a bug. But so
I've seen it before, though.
Yeah, we need to report it. So if I look in the BYOID project in the town square channel, I see the activities here. There's a lot of things we would like to be able to visualize about this, like what activities each person is involved in, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And you know, access to the network map, and et cetera, et cetera. But,
Our new friend, I don't know his name because I can't read the calligraphy, but he asked, what is the relationship of social ledger to RChain? And I'll just say that I got into the social ledger because RChain has a Mattermost platform, which is the sort of the primary deployment of the social ledger in an actual development space, if that helps any. Jim, can you add anything to that, or Kit?
Yeah, the social ledger is an experiment that's part of governance committee activity of RChain. The target of the social ledger is RChain ultimately, even though we're looking to put it on HoloChain also, as well as potential Rolang programming of HoloChain.
Yeah, he said, got it.
So where were we? Quiet, guys.
And you, Jim, if you get a chance, you might show the RChain Mattermost platform.
Yeah, I mean, well, it looks the same as
the DiviDAO, yeah. Except we have the government domain and the main RChain domain, and
right. So we're
yes, let's give the URL to the Mattermost, the invitation to the RChain Mattermost.
Right.
We could put that in the chat. I could get that, Jim, if you don't want to.
I got it.
All right.
Okay, we get team invite unlit. Copy link. I don't know if you can see my chat. Did you see my chat?
And say hello to us when you get in the channel. I don't think we support the Chinese calligraphy though. Mm-hmm. So what will your nickname be in the channel? If you don't mind sharing, you don't have to, but I just want to say hello.
Yeah, it should be the same as what your Discord.
MZZ. Okay, that's great. We'll look for your MZZ in the channel.
Yeah, and we're glad you you came to visit. Please feel free to ask questions. We're delighted to have you join. I guess Kit gave you a little introduction, but feel free to let us know what you're interested in, why you're here, anything like that.
Great. He's MZZ has already joined the channel. There you go. That's identification. You've identified yourself in the video, and we see it on the screen. So it doesn't get any better than that, and we have a record of it.
There's no questions here. We'll go back to the agenda. And this is, an open meeting, and anybody can put things on the agenda in this meeting. It's just, they may have a particular purpose or agenda ahead, but generally not. It's like right before the meeting, we put what's frustrating us or exciting us this week on the list, having to do with the bringing your own identity. Okay, so we had I guess the issue of having a scribe for the BYOID project. Both Kit and I are very reluctant in taking the lead in the BYOID. We would really want to find somebody to take the lead of BYOID, because both of us have our hands in way too many pots, and at the same time, identity is a top priority. But we have a lot of great videos from this video meeting in the can. If you go to the Divi Dow YouTube page, we've had some great guests and great discussions in these meetings, but what we produce is very limited. We haven't been able to get developers on board, so we have muddled through a lot of the technical stuff ourselves in our spare time, which we don't have. But we need I guess we need more leadership in the BYOID project. We need somebody to step up to the plate there. We need a scribe. We need somebody to step up to the plate there. Now, people that are actors here generally have not been active, except us. And there's people that have been active that are not on the list. So defining, who's a member of the team, and essentially who's committed to activities, I guess we have to facilitate ourselves in the use of the social ledger and make sure that we have the activities here are represented. The activities of the project are represented here. And we have some new activities. There's no holochain activity on here yet. And that people that are committed to them are shown in the activities that reflect actually what's happening in the collective. And then reviewing the membership of the team and maybe reviewing, making changing the membership so that the people who are actually active are members, and maybe get some of the people that are on the team to live up to their commitments and actually participate.
Jim, at this time, we ought to be showing people how to put those links into the channels much more often, because that was sort of the trigger in my case for me to key into the social ledger. That was how to create either an action or a link or a link to a document in the meta menu.
Yeah, well, if you do a /dig help, okay, you'll see in the examples here using Markdown to put links in. But yeah, I agree. That's an essential skill, is associating a link with it. And the in the dashboard, the intention is that you can, put the link in the dashboard without having to know Markdown.
But
people in chat should know Markdown to put in a link.
Well, and I don't even think, I think the fact that this is something called Markdown is incidental, but just showing someone how to create a single link in the, during a Zoom session is, does it not translate in a Zoom session?
No, I think it's good to, it would be great to live in the Zoom session actually show the commands, because it's monkey see, monkey do. If I do a dig action, okay, and now I want to do
this is the town square in the BYOD channel. You could put why don't you put a link to a video why don't you put a link to today's video? Well, you can't do that yet because you don't have the link to it, but you can.
Yeah, well, what we have to think about when we're adding an activity to the channel is it should be a key first priority activity of the circle. Okay, that's what we want to represent. The top priority of BYOID, the top priorities, and it's not. We have a bunch of actions in here which we probably should delete because there are not priority activities going on here. necessarily. So we have to onboard ourselves onto the social ledger to use it properly, and we've just been too scattered. We're in too many things, and we have been paying it. Haven't made it a priority to get this straight.
Well, why don't you go to the Hive Mind channel on Dig Life and create a link to that HughBot on.
Well, this is the identity thing. We want to put in tell us what our top priority is in identity.
Well, our top priority in identity for me probably is looking at OAuth in terms of the social ledger, because it sounds like that's probably something I'm going to have to be doing real soon.
Social ledger, OAuth, aggregation. Okay, now, where does that point? Where does that link to?
Let's make it a channel.
Well, I think we should link that to the social ledger log.
Okay, that's a good idea.
So, we have the trial log.
The social ledger bot log.
Let me see what this is, social ledger lab. Oh, that's the channel. Okay, so I think we'll put that here for now. I mean, the real place that it's happening is in the BYOID log, which we don't need to give a link to. But for now, I'll just stick this in here. Okay, and /dig actions, social ledger OAuth aggregation. I'll make a large commitment to.
Yeah, I can do that too. Right?
Yeah, hopefully that'll be a big circle soon. A major,
Yeah,
it should be a major activity of the circle.
And that's what we want as things become priorities and the circle starts growing. Shouldn't it grow a bit in time compared to stale projects?
There's all kinds of visualization we want to do.
Yeah.
And that's we're running some experiments in it now. But there's limits to the tool we use for this. It's well, I'm not really familiar with it. Joachim is using it. So we have.
See you, kid. I'm glad you made it today. We're glad you got to see you, and Go over and look at the Hive Mind channel and see what you think of that conversation.
The Hive Mind channel, is that in Mattermost?
Yeah, Dig Life Mattermost.
Dig Life Mattermost, okay. I'll track it down. So I'm going to sign off. It's good to see you guys. Nice to see you, John. Nice to see you, MZZ. And yeah, I put something in the chat. The sprint, the Holochain sprint, is next weekend, which means same time, same channel, right? At this time, they will be sprinting, so we could organize a connect if you guys have a coffee break or something during your sprint.
What exactly is the sprint?
Well, it's in Bristol in the UK, and it's on the 9th and 10th, which is Saturday and Sunday next weekend. So if we connect during the Bring Your Own Identity meeting, then maybe we could say hello to the sprint in Bristol.
Cool.
Yeah?
That's
Great idea.
So
okay, and this is the thing with making collaboration work. All everybody has to do a little bit, and then everything gets done because nobody has time to do everything. But if we each contribute a little, it's enough to coordinate the team and evoke a collective intelligence. Oops.
yeah, exactly. That's how collective intelligence works. Lots of small pieces.
Working out loud, and just doing little stuff. Like if you see a channel doesn't have a description, put one in, or if a channel doesn't have a goal, do a /dig goal. It's taking initiative. It's self-management and being a good bee in the hive. Getting while you're there, collecting a little honey or whatever, for the benefit of all. And what was it that we had here? We had the holochain. Sprint. We really need unification of direction on identity in holochain, and the implementation of the we need.
So the way I'm looking at that, Jim, is if I figure out in my simple-minded way how to do it, I can tell any of you PHP programmers what needs to be done, right?
There's no PHP here. This is all Go. For holochain.
Oh, for holochain. Okay, I'm sorry. Back up. I was thinking OAuth in Social Ledger.
Awesome. And people have to be aggressive about being willing to make changes to documents. Okay, if they don't take action, then there won't be any collective action. They won't be part of the collective being, the collective intelligence. They have to take actions. And if if you're unsure about an action, you can go up here in the corner. You can select suggesting mode, and then you could suggest add a suggestion. What's another priority?
Oh, well, the other priority is but these are in terms of BYOID, right?
Right. I guess we're making it a priority to do the MetaMaps integration.
Oh, that's I mean, but that relates right back to OAuth aggregation.
Right.
So in fact, the integration with Holochain and Social Ledger and MetaMaps is all relates back to OAuth in Social Ledger. Wow. It's all tied together, isn't it?
Yeah. It's right. So, single sign-on, but it's self-sovereign identity. It's all about self-sovereign identity.
Okay, guys, I'm signing off.
Later.
Good to see you all.
See you, guys. Thanks for coming.
Until next time. Bye.
Okay, that's enough suggesting. Go ahead and edit, Gary.
Well, I thought I was editing. Why is it suggesting now?
I don't know. You didn't select suggesting?
Oh. Sorry. Let me log out.
Okay, and when you see someone's suggestion and it makes sense, accept it or discuss it. That way we can, work together, you can use it, do something together that we couldn't do independently.
Yeah, and the thing is,
we don't have time.
If you, when you become convinced that the suggested changes are usually to make things better, it makes it a lot easier to kind of go out and just do whatever you want, because with hopefully better minds will steer us back onto the proper direction.
Okay, so
this MZZ had to change his preferred logon name. I don't know if MZZ, you feel that was an inconvenience.
You had to change it?
Well, I mean, when he logged on, it was in Chinese calligraphy, which I had to admit that I I didn't know how to pronounce. So I should learn to pronounce.
Well, Kit told us his name, and I forget what it is. But it's on the recording.
I didn't hear that. I missed so much by audio, so I'll pay more attention. But should Mattermost accept different calligraphy in the names?
I don't know. What's allowed? I guess anything you can type, you can put in a name, I think.
Well, so maybe I'm making an assumption that's not true. So, but who was it in Koinoi? How do you say it? Koinobi?
It's convenient for other people if you put the name in standard characters.
I didn't hear you.
It's convenient for other people if you put, it's hard to type the name when they put those characters in it.
Yes, true.
If otherwise, for the benefit of other people, it's good to use regular characters.
But it would have been nice if in Zoom we could have just, if I wanted to, I could actually choose sorry, I'm listening to other chats going on Discord, which I should turn off, but I haven't had time to figure out how to do that. They come in handy so often that I just leave them on. I'm sorry, where were we?
I think we're done, really. We've taken 2 hours almost, but
I think it was a productive meeting. I'd say just continue working, but I do need to get some lunch. And I want to say thanks to MZZ and John, and I'll keep everybody informed about the meeting on Monday. And hope to see you all soon.
Final thoughts, MZZ and John?
Jim, stop sharing your screen so we can log out more easily.
Still there, John? MZZ? You're on mute if you're talking.
I think we put them to sleep. But anyway, how do I get back to, oh, there we go. Okay. Thanks, guys. See you all maybe next week. That should be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, he commented in the chat.
Great. If you can put anything in the notes, that would be awesome. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
We ought to just make the notes from the Zoom chat part a social object, Jim, and include those in the document for the meeting.
Right. I can get a link to this heading for today.
Okay.
And put that link in.
We'll need to add that to procedures for Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
An action
in the video. I don't know how to get the link for this, except the only way I know how to do it, and this is one of the reasons I put start here, is I insert a table of contents. And then I take the link. Jesus Christmas.
Okay, Jim, I got to run. Talk to you soon.
I copy this link. And then I delete the table of contents. These. How come it takes a start? I don't understand this. I guess there's a delete table of contents somewhere. Delete table of contents. Okay. And then I can put that in I'll just stick it here for now. And whoops, it's the wrong one. I copied the wrong link. Silly me. I did the wrong log. But you don't have to sit through watching me do that. I'll go ahead and close the meeting. Thanks again for coming. Goodbye all.